Hey, what's up? What's up? How's everyone doing? This video, as you can see on the descriptions below and on the title of the video, it says that this video is about Barry Bonds. But first, I want to start out by congratulating Big Papi David Ortiz for being elected into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, which is a prestigious honor. Well deserved. Big Papi was a game wrecker, a primetime player. Whenever it was playoff time, he always showed up. It was a nervousness that came over you to pitch to him in a big spot, because he could wreck games with one swing of the bat. One of the best sluggers, obviously, that played this game, and well deserved being a first ballot Hall of Famer, meaning that he got in on the first opportunity that he had to get into the Hall of Fame, which is a very big accomplishment. But I do have to say this: I'm very disappointed at the baseball writers and at Major League Baseball for not voting in Barry Bonds nor Roger Clemens. Now, say what you may say. If you let David Ortiz into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, you also have to let Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds into the Major League Hall of Fame. Because back in 2003, I believe baseball did an investigation. They tested all these different players, and allegedly David Ortiz was in that list of players that tested positive for P.E.Ds. P.E.Ds meaning performance-enhancing drugs. Drugs that basically help you to become better in your performance. So if David Ortiz gets into the Hall of Fame, allegedly being a what they call a cheater, then you have to let Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens in. I mean, Barry Bonds is arguably the best player that ever played the game. That the game is. He's definitely the best player that I've seen in my lifetime. Him and Ken Griffey Jr. in my lifetime. Those are the two best players that I've seen in my lifetime. So it's hypocritical of the baseball writers to vote one quote-unquote cheater in, but not vote the other two cheaters in that they might not like, right? And the distinction is that Barry Bonds, without the P.E.Ds, without the performance-enhancing drugs, is a much better player than David Ortiz was. So now, before the P.E.Ds, before it was alleged that he started taking the P.E.Ds, I said 1998. This is when baseball was in a decline. There weren't that many fans in the seats. People that stopped watching baseball on TV. You remember Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa? They went on a tear. They started hitting home runs left and right. They started doing all of the things that baseball loved. You know, chicks love the long ball, right? That's a saying in baseball that women like when players that hit home runs. So Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire were attacking the single season home run record during that season, which was held by Roger Maris at 61. Prior to that, it was Babe Ruth, 60. So Major League Baseball, the establishment of baseball, loved this, that these guys were assaulting the Major League Baseball record, single season home run record. So what they began to do, they started putting they games on primetime. They began to cut national games to show their at-bats. In the middle of national games that are happening, they would show their at-bats to see if they would catch the record or pass it. Eventually, they both passed Roger Maris's record in that same year. And I believe McGwire ended up with 70. And I want to say Sosa ended up with 69, or was it was 69 or 68 or 71, something of that nature. I don't really remember at this point. But and everybody celebrated it. This was 1998. That same year, Barry Bonds, who was just a great, magnificent player. At that point in his career, I believe the high in home runs that he hit in one season was like 47 home runs. He never hit nothing higher than that, but he was a great all-around player. He hit for average. He had speed, and he had some power. So that same year, Barry Bonds reached the 400 club, 400 club. This is a player that has hit over 400 home runs and has stolen over 400 bases, all 400, right? Which is a feat that's magnificent, because most of the time, players who hit for power are not speedsters, or if they begin as speedsters, as their career progresses, they begin to lose their speed. Barry Bonds maintained his speed and was able to reach the 400 club, which is 400 home runs, 400 stolen bases. Now, I want you to guess in your mind, how many players do you think are in that club? The 400 club, 400 home runs, 400 steals. I'll give you a second, 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Time's up. Did you guess how many players? 1. And that player is Barry Lamar Bonds. He's the only player that's part of that club. Needless to say, he's one of the few players that has ever stolen 40 bases and hit 40 home runs in a single baseball season. There ain't too many of those that have done that. Barry Lamar Bonds has done that. So my point is, in 1998, when he was not involved in any steroid scandal, in 1998, Barry Bonds was already a Hall of Famer. Roger Clemens in 1998, if they would have retired, they would have already been eligible for Hall of Fame credentials just off their numbers. What these guys saw is that players that were inferior to them were becoming mega stars and mega big and putting up these astronomical numbers. And they said, well, if they could do that and they're getting away with it because baseball is not testing, then we're going to begin to do that. Not making any excuses for them, but what I'm saying is that that's the human psyche, right? If nothing is being done to these people for doing what is perceived to be wrong, then why can't I do it and get away with it, being that I'm better than these guys? And when allegedly, because I'm not sure, he never came up positive in any Major League Baseball test, Barry Bonds, I believe Roger Clemens, they never came up positive to my knowledge, right? When they quote unquote, what people say, began to take these P.E.Ds, they became out of this world. Barry Bonds began to hit home runs at an astronomical clip and pace. He went on an assault on at that time Mark McGwire's home run record, and he eclipsed it. I believe he hit 73 home runs in one season. But now everybody began to come down on him about the P.E.D, the P.E.D's usage and the steroid usage and blah blah. And you know the whole thing with the Balco and being on trial and coming before Congress, I believe, and all of that stuff. It was a period in baseball where all these players was coming before Congress and all that. And Sammy Sosa all of a sudden forgot how to speak English and, all these things. Mark McGwire pleaded, I believe, the fifth, or I forgot what McGwire did. But, Barry Bonds, under oath, he admitted that he took the cream and the clear, which was something that would help his arthritic knees and his joints and stuff or whatever. And in these creams and in these clears that there was allegedly P.E.D. So not allegedly, but there was P.E.Ds and this cream and this clear, which was topical solutions that he needed to heal up. But anytime Major League Baseball tested him, he never popped up positive for PEDs. He never got suspended. So my point to all of this is, how do you select one guy that you say cheated and make him a first ballot Hall of Famer, but these other two guys who are bona fide Hall of Famers, before even the P.E.D. usage, you don't elect them? And now they're out of the running for any writers to select them into the Hall of Fame. Now they have to go to a veterans committee. This is bogus. These writers should not have the right to select whether or not somebody gets in. So people are saying, well, you have the character clause, in the Hall of Fame. This is one of the criteria, the character clause, and the character wasn't that great. Barry Bonds specifically, he was ornery with the media. He was arrogant. He was this and he was that. Listen, you should be getting in for your performance on the field. That's all you should be getting in for, because if you want to go to character clause, I'm sure that there are a lot of racists and a lot of bigots in the Hall of Fame. How did they get in? Why aren't they removed? But that's not my point. If they perform, you should be in the Hall of Fame. It doesn't matter. And this is my point now. So either you're going to be staunch and you're going to stand behind the character clause for everybody in the quote-unquote steroid era, or you're going to let the people in that you know are great players. It has to be one or the other. And don't forget that in 1998, when McGwire and Sosa were attacking Roger Maris's record, Major League Baseball profited off of it. And they knew what those guys were doing. They knew that they were taking steroids. So that's hypocritical that now Barry Bonds, perhaps, if not the greatest, one of the greatest players that ever played the game, is left out of the Hall of Fame. And Roger Clemens, one of the greatest pitchers that ever pitched in Major League Baseball, is left out of the Hall of Fame. And listen, I despised Roger Clemens as a baseball player. I hated him. But right is right. And I think that he belongs in the Baseball Hall of Fame. That's all I have to say. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like the video and leave your comments below. Thank you.